Victorians are, we said earlier, I'd like to ask the Victorians, how are you enjoying your user trial of your 1 month free totalitarianism under Comrade Dan? What he's doing is illegal. It's just illegal. There's no other word for it. He has no lawful authority to do what he's doing, and yet Victorians are quietly sitting there hoping not to be disturbed. On the upside though, just so we're aware, we don't need everybody, we just need enough. And I've mentioned this number before and it's true. George Washington, when he led the Continental Army against the greatest superpower of his day, the British Empire, he only had 20% support of the American population. So 80% were reporting his movements to the bad guys. That was enough. We only need enough. 20% is what he needed. We don't need everybody, but we need enough to say, you know what, it's time. Now, everyone has a different role to play. Some are up front, some are the tip of the spear. But just like in any war, for every combat soldier, you've got multiple people behind making it happen. So you've got the shooters at the front line, and that's great. You need them, but you need supporters at the back. So everybody has a role to play, according to your ability, according to your capacity. But understand this, and Romeo mentioned it earlier, it's called social proof. The moment we see one person do it, we know it can be done. And that social proof then gives us the permission almost to try it ourselves. Dan is not in charge. See, let's elevate our view just a fraction. No politician in this country has any real power. Morrison has no power. Dan has no power. They are controlled. They are allowed to become Prime Minister. They are allowed to become premiers of states by the people that really run the country. Howard famously said that. Tony Abbott has to meet the people that really run the country, and now I think he regretted saying it. So we have to disabuse ourselves of this notion that the politicians are in charge. Daniel Andrews couldn't organise a piss-up in a brewery without written instructions. The guy has no idea. He has no competence to do just about anything. He's just following instructions. So that's point number one. So it's not Dan. Dan's just the puppet. He'll get his payoff like they all do in the end, with some nonsense job down the track, like Julia Gillard did, like they all do. Their job is to hand over sovereignty and treasure from working Australians. That's their job, in my opinion. So that's point number one. Dan's not actually in charge, he's just following orders. Secondly, Victoria is used as the vanguard for every bad thing this country suffers. And the example is this, because it's the most left-leaning state in the country. And I remember visiting my cousins down in Melbourne in the 60s, and we used to cross the border and it just felt different and weird, and it is. It's the most left-leaning, compliant, docile population in the country. And that's where they trial new ideas. Full-term abortion, and once again, just so we're clear, I'm not talking about some young lady that has a drunken night of passion and then the next day pops a morning after pill. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the killing of a fully functioning child at the moment of birth and then selling its body parts for profit. Now that was first introduced, it was pushed by Emily's List, for those who are unfamiliar, so I'll just recap a little. It was pushed by Emily's List, which is the female faction of the Labor Party. Julia Gillard, Penny Wong, Tanya Plibersek, they're big fans of full-term abortion on demand, Australia-wide, publicly funded. So good old Penny, who rails against racism, has no problem killing babies, and so does Tanya Plibersek. And that was first introduced into Victoria. Next was Tasmania. Next was Queensland, and the Queensland had voted against it, and still Palaszczuk, the Premier, pushed it through as well. So she pushed it through. There's something about childless women that makes them particularly useful for killing babies.
Vindictive.
Yeah, and then finally New South Wales got it, good for nothing. Gladys pushed it through after the election. So this is the vanguard. Victoria is the vanguard, and they test it in Victoria. Like any good market product, you test it and see how far you can go. And they've tested it in Victoria, and they're watching very closely, and by they I mean all the other premiers and the Prime Minister, and they're watching very carefully to see how much Australia pushes back. And you can see what's going to happen next. Good for nothing, Gladys is going to enforce the same thing. Then they're coming for your kids, folks. And I have a very bad feeling that a lot of you are going to find this out the hard way. They will knock on your door and say, we suspect that you haven't been tested, therefore we're going to take your kids from you now. And the police will take them away. And you'll be standing there slack-jawed, wide-eyed, trying to figure out, what do I do now? Well, it's too late, folks, because they've taken your kids. And it gets back to your point: save your family, save the country. The two are the same, and they will take your children. Now, if you fight the coppers, you're arrested and you're locked up. So what they're doing is they're using Victoria as the vanguard. Whether corona was invented or not is a separate discussion, but it's not germane to what's happening here. They have this thing. The numbers are pathetically low.
Yes.
The alleged positive cases are astronomical, alleged, because they tested fruit and cattle and they tested positive. And this is in Africa. They tested positive for coronavirus. So the testing process is a joke.
Yeah.
Secondly, the testing process, the man who invented it specifically said this is not designed to test for things like coronavirus.
Yes.
That's point number two.
That's right.
Point number three, the deaths, even the alleged deaths, are so low in comparison to the positive results that it is not worthy of consideration. There are things that cause more deaths more frequently, and they should be looked at. And on top of that, the numbers are actually inflated, because if you look at the deaths through influenza, cancer, and a range of other diseases, they are near zero, and yet coronavirus is up top. So if you die of something, you can be 90 and die of a heart attack, and if they suspect that you had coronavirus is now mentioned as the cause. Now, the average Australian, again, don't believe me. Stop watching My Kitchen Rules just for 10 minutes. But I don't mean to be rude, but folks, you've got to do your own research. Don't believe us. Don't believe a word we say. Do your own research, and you'll find that the ABC's been lying to you non-stop. The commercials, in fact, it was Channel 7, they used alleged footage of critical collapse of emergency wards around the country, because they're crammed with the coronavirus victims. And it was actually footage taken 6, 7, 8, 9 months ago in Italy. It was also used falsely by US news services. You are being lied to directly by the commercials. And then you've got Sky News, the alleged conservative news service. Well, pick your favourite presenter. Pick any one of them, the one you trust the most. Have they once told you that the bail-in laws have come in? And the bail-in laws mean that the bank can take your money if the bank looks like failing. That's right, they can take your money without telling you. Now, it's against the law for you to ask where the money went, and it's against the law for the bank to tell you where the money went. How do I know this? A colleague of mine had $750,000 taken out of an account. That's not small coin. And it got taken out, and he was not allowed to ask, and he was not allowed to be told. These are the bail-in laws that the government passed. Your savings are gone, if they wish. Do you understand what's going on? So this coronavirus lockdown is a cover story for a lot of other bad things that are going on. Romeo mentioned the ASIO bill, 2020 bill. And it's worse. It doesn't even get to the judge to get an oral warrant, because the system is required. The police or the security, the police have to provide evidence to a judge that a warrant is legally required. Sufficient evidence of a crime has been discovered. We need a warrant to go and search for more evidence. No problem. That's a sound legal process. It's not even to a judge. It now goes, in extreme cases, to the Attorney General, where operational agility is the term is required by ASIO. Well, you know what? If ASIO started doing its job and stopped pretending that the real threat was people like me or other people, and actually looked at the real threat, they wouldn't need this operational agility. They have the capacity to do exactly what they've got to do. Now, what it means is they can ring up the Attorney General. Well, hoopla, a politician is going to be given the power to give an oral warrant to a police force? Are you kidding me? The least trusted individuals in the country, who are driven by every motive other than the good of the country, can now, over the phone, tell the police to knock on your door and search your premises. Welcome to Nazi Germany. Welcome to Mao's China. Welcome to Stalin's Russia. This is where we are. This is not a joke. This is extremely serious. And unless you wake up, folks, that's what's going to happen. And they will take everything from you. Your children, your money, your property, your life. And you'll sit there impotent, wondering, why the hell didn't I do something earlier? So there's a very long answer to a very short question, but the coronavirus is a cover for a lot of bad things that are going on. It's all out there. Do your research. Find out what's going on. But your country is being stolen from you one state at a time. And the next one will either be Tasmania or New South Wales. And my guess it's New South Wales, because you've got that border there. And good for nothing Gladys will follow suit and compel us to wear masks and then lock us in our homes, and they won't let us out. And once again, folks, there is not one legal basis to what they're doing. It is utterly illegal, even if it's the best idea, even if it is. They are not legally able to do this. It is illegal, it is unconstitutional at every level. They have overstepped their bounds, they should be locked up. It's as simple as that. So that's a long answer to a short question. Corona is a cover for bad things.
There's no doubt.